This is Ki-hee Liu. I'm the chair of the session 5. We are discussing about the water management challenges and solutions for the Mekong Delta. As a chair, I want to ask you, everybody, to turn off the audio except the speaker so we can proceed. Especially, I want to ask to follow up to the Mr. Jin Duk-jan, who didn't appear yet. So we are waiting for, we are not going to wait, but we can proceed the session. Then later, Mr. Chan can participate. As a chair, thank you for everybody for participating in the Mekong special session to update the current challenges and the solutions in the Mekong River basins. The climate change has severe impact on the water resources management in the Mekong River basins. Today, we invite two Korean specialists on the Mekong water resource management. Each specialist will present his PPT slide for 20 minutes. After 15-minute session, we'll take a 10 minutes coffee break and take a rest. Then after break, at 4:30, we'll continue discussion by inviting 6 discussants, 3 specialists from Vietnam and 3 specialists from Korea, who will provide their general comment, including any questions, inquiry, and also suggest alternatives to address the challenges for the Mekong water resource management issues. Each discussant will provide their presentation for 5 minutes. After discussion with the Vietnamese specialist who will participate through the Zoom meeting, the presenters will respond to the Vietnamese discussants for 5 minutes each. Then we'll continue with the 3 Korean discussants for their comments and solutions for the challenge for 5 minutes each. The presenters will also respond to the discussant remark for 5 minutes each. Then I will summarize and conclude today's session. This is the chairman's guidelines for this session. At first, Dr. Go will present his PPT on transboundary river basin water resource planning in the Mekong tributary. Dr. Go is the Vice President of Yushin Engineering Corporation, and also he is co-chair of this Chuncheon Global Water Forum 2020. As a water resource specialist, I'm very happy to have 2 excellent specialists to share their knowledge and experience in the Mekong River basins. So I want to invite Dr. Go, please.
Thanks, Chair, and good afternoon, panelists from Korea and Vietnam. Talk about transboundary river basin planning in the Mekong tributary. As you know well, this is Mekong River Basin shared by 6 countries with China, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, Thai, and Cambodia. Actually, our Mekong Delta is located and shared by Cambodia and Vietnam right here. In order to promote IWRM cooperation among the lower Mekong Basin including Cambodia, Laos PDR, and Thailand, and Vietnam. They made a very impressive 1995 Mekong Agreement. This is to set out to achieve the strategic objectives of IWRM in the Lower Mekong Basin by optimizing multiple use and multiple benefit of water resources while minimizing the harmful impact. So let's revisit the definition of IWRM, which was prepared by Global Water Partnership long time ago in the year 2000. They say it's a process to promote the coordinated development and management of land, water, and other related resources to maximize the economic and social welfare, and also without compromising the sustainability of our ecosystem. So actually, those four Mekong riparian countries in the lower Mekong areas, they are pursuing the definition and the goal of this IWRM in the region. But they have many challenges to implement these ideas in the region. One of the big challenges is intensive upstream development in the Mekong area. For example, in this upstream Chinese area, during last 30 years, they developed a lot of large-scale hydropower dams. More than 11 large-scale hydropower dams was developed in this upstream of the Mekong region. These dams are devastating the sustainable water resource management in the Mekong area. Also, this slide shows the existing hydropower plants in the upstream of the Laos PDR, and another one downstream of the Laos PDR in terms of hydropower development. In addition to this existing hydropower infrastructure, the government of Laos, they are pursuing to increase their hydropower generation capacity to more than 30,000 megawatts by the year 2030 to export this electricity to the neighboring countries, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. This additional rapid development will impact a lot in terms of negative way to the downstream Mekong areas. In case of Thailand, Thailand has experienced the worst water shortage in more than a decade. And then they began a $1.8 billion Mekong diversion project. That's a mega project to divert billions of cubic meters of water from the Mekong River to the inland areas of their country. Below those countries, we have Vietnam and Cambodia, who share the Mekong Delta areas. Actually, we can say this is a shared land of prosperity between the two countries with common strategies for sustainable agriculture and food security. In case of Vietnam, they have almost 4 million hectares land in this Mekong Delta, and almost 20 million people are living in these areas. Most of them are farmers. And they share more than 50% of rice production of the nation from these Mekong Delta areas. And among them, 90% of rice are exported to all over the world. More than 65% of fishery productions in this area, and 70% of food productions of Vietnam are from here. That shows how important the Mekong Delta for the nation of Vietnam. To make that implement productive land in the Mekong Delta, they invest a lot of water infrastructure with densely large-scale irrigation drainage systems across the Mekong Delta. This infrastructure contributed to a remarkable economic and social development of Mekong Delta for their nation. But on top of the huge upstream developed risk, climate change with extreme hydrology and seawater level rise is deteriorating too much water problem, too little water problem, and too salty water problems in the Mekong Delta. And it is noticed that Vietnam and Cambodia are the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. And then how Vietnam and Cambodia to secure the threatening safety, livelihood, and prosperity of the Mekong Delta under this negative condition. To overcome these big challenges, the government of Vietnam, they established the Resolution 120. This is a new vision of strategic orientation with comprehensive, innovative, and synchronous solutions for sustainable development of the Mekong Delta, with a paradigm shift to actively living together with flood, inundation, brackish water, and salt water. To make it implementable, the transboundary collaboration between Vietnam and Cambodia should be strengthened for ongoing climate change risk in upstream hydropower development and intensive water infrastructure development in the Mekong Delta areas. In these Mekong areas, there are 5 transboundary areas here. Among them, Sesan and Srepo, 2 river basins, and Mekong deltas are those 2 areas shared by Cambodia and Vietnam. But in reality, it is not easy, and it is not nicely implemented for intensive and efficient transboundary water cooperation between the 2 countries. Why? 3 reasons here. First one, lack of transboundary water resource management plan. And second one, lack of joint planning, collaboration, and cooperation. That resulted in inappropriate infrastructure development and investment of those Mekong Delta. Third one is lack of clear and sufficient mechanism to enable coordination between 2 countries to address transboundary water resource management issues and solutions. So here key word is how to enhance information and knowledge base for the joint transboundary river-based planning and flood and drought risk management for the Mekong Delta and the 2S basins. So in my presentation, I'd like to share our recent practice for river-based planning in the 2S river basin of Vietnam's territory. And then Dr. Che, the second presenter, will talk about our recent effort for flood and drought risk management study for the Mekong Delta. This slide shows 2S river basin. This area is Vietnam's territories of the 2S river basin with 11,000 square kilometers for the Sesan areas and 18,000 square kilometers of Srepo river basin. We call it 2S basins, shared by 5 local provinces of Vietnam. This is the counterpart Cambodian territory of 2S basins. But in our study was limited only for this 2S basin in Vietnam. And this the discharge from this 2S basin to the main Mekong River covers 20% of the whole Mekong flows. And this slide summarizes the challenges in the 2S basin water management with severe water shortage for agricultural production in dry season, which lead land subsidence due to the excess groundwater use, water pollution, bank erosion, and change tourism and deplete flow in the downstream sections of due to the hydropower development and operation. And so, again here, transboundary river basin requires more close cooperation and coordination for better management of water resources to ensure mutual benefit and sustainable development. To meet this urgent goal, Vietnam's Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment is setting up the 2S River Basin Committee to manage and coordinate actions to resolve these challenges. So the urgent need for a basin water resource planning input to support the 2S River Basin Committee with advanced toolkits. To meet this demand, the World Bank Mekong IWL projects was initiated for Vietnam with component 1. Under this component of projects for the 2S River Basin, 2 consulting services was progressed. The first one is developing a decision support system with database, information system, and water resource models for 2S Basin, managed by Dutch consultant with Danish consultant together. Second one is implementing 2S River Basin water risk planning with advanced toolkits developed by the Dutch consultant, which was carried out by Korean consultant, Ocean Consortium. So this 2S River Basin planning targets to year 2030, vision to 2050, with 3 main objectives: to ensure efficient and harmonious and regional water use, and to increase prevention of water pollution, and to minimize water-related risks. We spent 13 months until April this year to accomplish this mission with Korean consortium, with our counterpart, Vietnamese consultant expert, IWC and NAWAPI. Here, NAWAPI is a government entity of Vietnam's government responsible for National Center for Water Resource Planning and Investigation in the nation. When we start this project, we adapt holistic and integrated approaches to prepare the 2S-based planning report based on Circular 42, which is a regulation on water risk planning of Vietnam's government, and 1995 Mekong Agreement. And we set up cross coordination with key water management organization agencies in Vietnam under the Ministry of Monne, MAT, also 5 local governments. We followed these 4 main process components of implementing planning tasks, from data collection and analysis, and current basin status study, and scenario development and option study. And finally, providing 2S water planning report with allocation, protection, and prevention components together. And we set up analytical procedures for 2S-based planning for water allocation and water risk protection and water-induced damage prevention remediation in the initial part of this project mission. And as a first step, we delineated 16 sub-basins in the 2 river basins for Sesan and Strepo river basins to proceed hydrological and hydraulic analysis. And driving forces and scenarios of sectors to include scenarios was determined in terms of categories and items and parameters for this study, comprehensive study. And then rainfall and runoff and future water demand components was factored to set up baseline study with the year 2017 and the target year 2030 and 2050 scenarios concerning the hydrology with climate change impacts. And DS decision support system for these 2S basins was applied for these planning studies a lot. And especially SWOT model and Mike Hydro Basin and Mike Hydro River one-dimension models are the main components of this decision support system for river-based planning. And in the end of this water budget study of this project, the project water demand in the stress basins was 3.75 billion cubic meters for the target year 2030 and 5.3 billion cubic meters for 2050. And we could project the expected water shortage in the basin in the year 2030 with a range of 154 to 934 million cubic meters in dry season, March, April, and May. This slide shows the projected water shortage in the baseline years, target year 2030, and target vision year 2050. This slide shows water quality and the inclusion of a study result with a prediction of water quality protection areas in the target year 2030 and prediction of water bank erosion risk zones in the target year 2030 with the main regions of sand mining. So throughout this project, we had a very nice opportunity for capacity building of Vietnam's government, MONE, to implement IWRM approach for basin water resource planning and management. Especially throughout this project, by actively participating in this project, NAWAPI, they could demonstrate integrated water resource planning practice with advanced toolkits. And Vietnam National Mekong Committee, they are capable of assisting and supporting the established stress reserve committee to manage and coordinate actions to resolve transboundary water management challenges. So, as I mentioned in the definition of IWRM process, suppose if we have common assumption and estimates for the Mekong Delta or transboundary water management strategies, if we have common data and analytical toolkits, then we can proceed an open and transparent IWRM process to find solutions of throughout the strategy, transboundary flood and route management joint planning, and joint monitoring data sharing. Also, coordinated infrastructure development planning together of those Cambodia and Vietnamese riparian countries together. So finally, I'd like to propose some important recommendations from this project. For the Vietnam, they need follow-up activities right after this project findings by publicizing and widely disseminating planning results to localities and periodically reviewing and checking and evaluating water resources in each planning region using the developed decision support system toolkits. And especially for provincial sector planning projects and inter-provincial water project planning, construction must be considered on the basis of this planning to ensure the consistency. But it should be noted that similar capacity building must be developed for Cambodian counterpart, especially for Cambodian National Mekong Committee, MORAM, and Tues Basin water managers and engineers in that Cambodia's territory to further proceed joint Tues River planning with their counterpart Vietnamese water managers. And they need to duplicate the knowledge and experience of this Tues River Basin planning to the whole Mekong Delta by developing a common water information platform and analytical toolkits, so-called DSS Mekong Delta, for strengthened coordination with key stakeholder ministries, local government, and communities. And finally, we need more effort for scaling up building good water governance across the greater Mekong sub-regional levels for coordinated basin water development management. This is the strongly recommended actions from our study. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guo. So your excellent the presentation on your oceans study in the Mekong Basin. So it was really great to know because when I was in ADB, we had 3S, including the Mekong Basin, 3S water management plan we prepared. So I think it's a follow-up activity. The World Bank supported 2S. So really, I'm very happy to get the update of this presentation. Without you, so we could not understand the present status of the 2S Serapog and Sesan's situation and future direction to develop these 2S Beijing's. So thank you very much for your excellent presentation. So also you keep the time exactly. Yeah? How many times you practice it to meet the 40 slides within 20 minutes. Yeah. So we want to invite now Dr. Choi, who was ex-K Water Director General of the Research Institute, and present he is the the chair of the Korean Water Resources Association, the Mekong Special Committee. So he is the key person for the Mekong water resource management in the Korean Water Resources Association. So let's invite Dr. Cho to listen about the Mekong Delta for climate change impact. Yeah. So his presentation is, the title is the Flood and Drought Risk Analysis in the Mekong Delta in response to climate change. So let's invite Dr. Choi.
2 years ago, I joined the Greater Mekong Sub-region Flood and Drought Risk Management and Mitigation Project. At the time, Dr. Go was a team leader, and I was a water resources specialist. As you know, the Mekong Delta is located in the critical economic region, but in recent years, this Mekong Delta has been exposed to hard conditions and changing climate, including massive amount of flooding and the rising levels of salt water. Dr. Go already presented this Mekong River Basin, so let me skip. Mekong Delta begin Phnom Penh, Cambodia, where the Pasang River diverged from the main Mekong River. You can see the map. This is the Mekong River, and this is the Pasang River. And however, Vietnam is called the Mekong River to Tien River, and Pasang River called to Hao River. There are 13 provinces and cities in the Mekong Delta, and the total population is 18 million meters, and the seasonal rainfall varies from 1,200 meters to 2,300 meters. Mekong Delta is about 93% of the area of arable land from elevation 0.5 to 1.5 meter. So large part of the delta gets seasonally flood up to 3 meters depth, especially Longshan quadrangle area and plain of Lily area. And also the low river flow in the dry season causes saltwater intrusion in the coastal region delta, affecting over 1.4 million hectares. And also the coastline has a length of 600 kilometers, mostly with relatively low sea dike and mangrove forest. Dr. said before, there are many water issues in the Mekong Delta. Too much water, too little water, and dirty water. And also the Tonle Sap Lake in Cambodia, water diversion from upstream countries such as Thailand, Cambodia, and also the upstream hydropower dams development in China and Laos. These water issues threats the safety, livelihood, and the prosperity of Mekong Delta. So, Vietnam government issued a resolution 120 to bring a new thinking on the sustainable development of Mekong Delta to adapt climate change. This resolution 120 requires a new vision, strategic orientation, comprehensive, radical, and synchronous solutions. This master plan should change the motto, living together with the flood, to actively living together with the flood, inundation, brackish water, and salt water. The vision of the reduction to zero to 2100, the Mekong Delta will sustainably, safely, and prosperously develop on the base of the high-quality agriculture, and the infrastructure system will be planned and developed in a uniform and modern manner toward proactively, intelligent, and resilient to climate change to ensure safety on occurrence of the natural disaster. The objectives to 2050 include the proportion of the ecological agriculture and the high quality agriculture will reach 80%. And also the road and the waterway systems will be developed in uniform manners to ensure regional and inter-regional connection, and will be built in harmony with the irrigation and the dike system. So there are 6 overall solutions to achieve this resolution on to zero. First one is a spatial organization. Second one is a formulated master plan for sustainable and climate resilient development. So the one is establishing appropriate economic structure. First one is to continue to complete the mechanism for coordinating the development of the region. Fifth one is introduce the breakthrough policy in order to attract non-state social funding. The last one is some specific task by each ministry. Each ministry should prepare an action plan to implement the resolution. Next topic is flood, drought, and soil damage in the Mekong Delta. According to the assessment of the disaster severity in different geographic areas, as you shown on the table, flood is extremely severe in the Mekong Delta, and also storm, drought, saltwater intrusion, inundation, landslide, and some surge, also severe damage to the Mekong Basin. As for the flood damage, high flood in the Mekong Delta happened due to the 3 major factors. First one is the 60% damage from the high flow discharge from upstream rivers, and 30% from high tidal flow from the East Sea, and last 10% heavy rainfall in the Mekong Delta. There are major flood in the Mekong Delta. Flood in 1991, 94, 96, and 2001, 2002, and 2011 are big flood above water alarm level 3. Especially 2000 flood, the time period is 50 years flood, was one of the most serious flood. And the estimated cost of the flood damage was $275 US. This slide shows the flood depth in meter in 2000 year, and this is flood duration in a day that higher than the 0.5 meter in 1000 year. In 2011, there was a big flood. So 2011 flood was the worst hit after 2000 year. Especially Anjiang, Dongtak, and the Longan province, most affected province in Mekong Delta. 7 provinces total damage cost is about $160 million. As shown on the table, Mekong Delta suffered severe flood damage any other years. 2011 is about $260 cost to estimate. This is the comparison map between the 2000 years flood and the 2011 years flood. As you can see the map, pink color is 2000 years flood area, and red color is 2011 flood area. So 2000 years flood area is bigger than the 2011 year. This map shows the 2050 flood damage. This map, companion map to the Mekong Delta average flood climate change 2015 50 depth and duration map provided by Mekong Adaptation and Resilience to Climate Change, ALCC. This map shows the Mekong Delta average flood baseline from 1985 to 2005 depth and duration. First map shows the maximum flood depths up to 1.5 from 1985 to 2005, and second map shows the flow duration to a depth of 1.5 meter up to 180 days. And the third map shows the flood duration to a depth of 1 meter up to 180 days. This is a Google Earth map of the Ho Chi Minh City with a flow map for the 25-year return period with a high climate change. Due to the fresh flood, coastal flood, and the rising sea level subjected to the flood southern Vietnam by 2100. As you can see the map, most of the Ho Chi Minh City will be flooded due to the flood damage. Drought and salinity tend to increase and more severe in these days. According to the historic record, 1998 to 1999 and 2015 to 2060 are typical drought events in the Mekong Delta. Especially the worst drought Vietnam has been in 90 years, started in 2015 and lasted until 2017. Drought was aggravated by saltwater intrusion that extended up to 90 kilometers inland in some coastal areas. This saltwater intrusion with a salinity level of 4 grams per liter or more has been reported into 50 to 90 kilometers deep into the delta main rivers from the West Sea and from East Sea. Same situation. But this drought is in progress nowadays. The drought situation is Mekong Delta in 2018 was assessed from salinity intrusion, and upstream water level and the tidal situation in 2018 caused a largely similar salinity intrusion distribution as in 2017 and 2016. This map shows the each year's salinity boundary. You can see the red line is the 2016 year's salinity boundary map, and the green colored line is 2018 salinity boundary map, and also purple color line is 2017 salinity boundary map. You know the 2016 is extremely severe salinity intrusion. This photo shows the sugarcane field destroyed by saltwater intrusion in the Sok Giang province in 2015 year, nearby East Seaside. As you know, the drought and salinity affect many kinds of the human activities for water, sanitation, and hygiene, and also the food security, livelihood, and agriculture. And also, education is influenced by drought and salinity impact, because children and adolescents who are not frequently attending school due to drought and saltwater intrusion are more exposed to violence, trafficking, and child labor. And also health and nutrition is influenced by drought impact. But this health and nutrition system are not included in the drought provincial emergency response plan now. And also gender and protection issues also affected by drought and saltwater intrusion, because water shortage increase the burden of unpaid care work for women and reduce their time for paid work. So it is necessary to have a child protection system in place with adequate human resources to closely monitor and timely response to child protection needs. Next topic is risk management and response to climate change. When I prepared this presentation, I found veteran papers. The title is Managing Flood Risk in the Mekong Delta, How to Address Emerging Changes on the Climate Change and Socio-Economic Development. This paper was issued 2018. This report, most of 90% of experts indicate that flood management has become more challenging comparing to 3 decades ago due to population growth, dike construction, land use change, hydropower dam construction, climate change, and sea level rise. So this graph shows that there is a big damage gaps between the non-adaptation planning and with adaptation planning. So it's time to act for the disaster risk mitigation. According to their paper, 19 flood management challenges by expert evaluation and literature review for flood management. There are 3 categories. From C1 to C5 is technical challenges, and C8 to C13 is governance and institutional challenges, and C14 to C19 is resources and capacity challenges. Among 19 flood management challenges, experts selected top 5 challenges according to the all experts. C2 is a product protection impact, C8, bounded management, C9, 6 regional collaboration, and C4, C10, conflicting interest, and the last one is low respectiveness. So next, I talk about how to decrease the disaster damage. There are many options for the mitigating the disaster damage, including the structural measures and the non-structural measures. As for the structural measures, Vietnam government already built large-scale infrastructures, such as the canals, dikes, sluice gates, and solar systems. As you can see this map, there are dense canal system is primary canals and secondary canals and tertiary canals. And also there are a lot of the river dike and also the sea dike, river dike, and embankment. So as I know, the Vietnam government tried to build a new large-scale infrastructure to mitigate the flood damage continuously. This slide shows the effect of the full dike system. You can see the 2 kinds of map. Left one is the 2000 flood map, and right map is 2011 years flood map. So, in the case of the Tucson flood, there is no full dike system, but after 2000 years map, Vietnam government tried to build semi-dike or full dike system. So there is no flood damage in the case of the full dike system area. Next, structural measures for the water supply during the drought period. In Korea, in 1980s, built a multi-regional water supply system to reduce drought damage. This multi-regional water supply system is a facility designed to provide water to more than to local governments. This system is equipped with large-scale pipelines and water treatment facilities. This map is metropolitan multi-regional water supply pipeline network in Korea. In same way, 2013, Vietnam government issued the Mekong Delta plan with the Netherlands government. At the time, they suggest freshwater supply possibilities. That means after water intake from the Hao River, and then this water supplied to the neighboring provinces and cities using the long distance pipelines. At the time, but however, at the time they suggest these measures still require research, investigation, and long-term planning. So I think that it's time to consider this kind of the water supply plan for the Mekong Delta. Next one is I'd like to discuss with you non-structural measures. There are also many options for non-structural options, but this time I suggest flood and drought management systems. The Mekong River Basin issued the annual Mekong flood report from the certain years in 2005, but in 2018, they changed this report format, like the annual Mekong hydrology, flood and drought report. This so-called AMHR, this report includes flood hydrology, droughts, monitoring, early warning, modeling, remote sensing, water demand, and water management. This is the 2018 report. Especially, we need to focus on the monitoring, early warning, modeling, and remote sensing part. As you know, there are some monitoring and warning system in the Mekong River, especially MIC already set up the monitoring system and also real-time monitoring system. And also Vietnam government early warning system to the central to local levels. Especially flood and storm control center in Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City support MOD standing office, and also the Pacific Disaster Center provide the Vietnam's Pacific Disaster Aware program. Vietnam being aware provide the disaster management, early warning, and decision support space to Vietnam. But this time is nationwide. It's not focused on the Mekong Delta. So I think that now Mekong Delta needs a new integrated flood information management system, and also set up the Mekong Delta Flood Center. So for the data acquisition, data processing, data providing, and early warning. And also for the mitigate the drought and salinity damage, it's time to set up the Mekong Delta Drought Center. As you know, there are a lot of the national drought center in the world. Korea set up the National Drought Center 5 years ago. So this Drought and Soil Center provide accurate information for drought and sanitary forecasting and the early warning system, and also sharing of the data and the standardization of collected data among relevant ministries, line department, local authorities, farmers, and water users. Last topic, let me introduce the pre-feasibility study of the Mekong Delta Smart City. You think this topic is not related with the Mekong Delta disaster risk management. However, Smart City is include IWRM and smart water management planning. So let me introduce this Mekong Delta Smart City. Last year, Korean Ministry, MORIT, and Korea Government Agency KIND, the first K-City Network Global Cooperation Program launched to spread Korean type smart city overseas. This K-Water network aims to foster government to government, so-called G2G smart city collaboration, and enable Korea to share its experience and technology around the world. Following the Korea Mekong Summit last year, the Asian chairman of the Ministry of Construction, Vietnam, requested a preliminary feasibility study to introduce a smart city in the Mekong Delta. So, Korean government start the K-City Network program for the Mekong Delta. This project started in last July and will be finished next March. This smart city, as I before said, IWRM and smart water management planning will be included. For example, analysis of water management system and review the improvement measures, basic concepts plan for IWRM and SWM, and the proposal of a pilot project, and also the digital twin-based IWRM and visualization of the smart water city, so future visions. Maybe Konto City will be a test bed for this K-Water K-City network program. So Mission Engineering Corporation also included in the, this project. So we will suggest basic conceptual plan, draft the conceptual plan before this year. Yeah, let me finish my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. So you covered all your presentation, including the risk analysis on the flood and the drought and salinity, plus the new project and smart city project. Thank you very much. So because we spent too much now, so we'll go directly for the panel discussion. Let's invite Dr. Ha, who is the department head of the National Center for Water Resource Planning and Investigation, NAWAP, of the Mon, Vietnam. Dr. Ha, so please give your comment.
Thank you, the chairman, and good afternoon from Hanoi. I'm from NAWAP. So thank you, Dr. Ko and Dr. Choi, and good to see you again due to this meeting, and with a lot of information updates in the Mekong Delta. So for the first presentation by Dr. Ko with updating the planning, transboundary planning, I mean. So actually now in Hanoi now, in this morning we also have a meeting to report our Vice Minister for the updating the planning not only in Mekong Delta for the other basin in Vietnam. We're talking about how to dealing with the new regulation on the planning, and also talking about how to dealing with the Mekong Delta planning, especially now in the Mekong Delta region. We also have two kinds of the planning due to the new regulation. The first one is the planning. I mean the planning by the MPI, the Ministry of Planning and Planning. Also, they're working with the new approach by the new regulation with the support from the Haskoning and the other consultation. So in Morale also we're working on our work on the Mekong Delta Kieu Long. We also call the different names the Kieu Long River Basin Planning, water resource planning. So yeah, I think talking about the transboundary river basin planning is also a challenge, especially in the Mekong Delta. I know that last year we also working with the VNMC and the Josin, Saman, and also from my colleagues in Vietnam, we working on the Tues River Basin. At this time, we also think about the also like transboundary water management, because in Vietnam part we working with the Tues River Basin, but in Cambodia they also working with the Cambodia part for planning purpose. So we also aware that in different part of the country, we also another kind of the tool. I mean. In Tues River Basin in Vietnam, we also we using the My Family model to dealing with the scenario development. We are dealing with the allocation, protection, and prevention planning. But in Cambodia, I'm not sure they kind using the model from Australia. So that is also bringing in the difficult to come and understand the issue in transboundary, because the inflow from Vietnam to flow into the Cambodia with the it's not using in the same platform. So that is also the issue when we're talking about the rising the need for the share the data or the common understanding the issue in each country. So I think in the very last slide of Dr. Ko present today with some call from Action Need, I think it's very good way to work. Like we share the data and using the same platform, using the same data and share the common view, understanding the basin in the large scale. And also we think about some impact due to the climate change and the impact by the mainstream development in upper parts, like in Laos, Laos, Thailand, also in China, with some impact by the less too much water or less or too little water or too dirty water in Mekong Delta. So that is my viewpoint for the first Dr. Ko presentation. And the second presentation today by Dr. Choi is very good way to update for us to think about the drought and flood management. We think about the how to dealing with the drought and flood management in terms of planning. We are working now because as you know that the planning based on the new regulation now in Vietnam and in Montreal, we're working now when we're talking about the prevention planning in water resources. We're dealing with three kinds of prevention. First is the bank erosion. So bank erosion may be due to the less too much water or too little water combined together, and also to dealing with the salinity water intrusion the impact into the groundwater, and also the check the groundwater due to it's called to the land subsidence. So I think Dr. Choi give us a lot of information on the international approach or the international viewpoint, the international paper work for the Mekong Delta region. We will use this information, bring into our planning we are working now. But a little bit comment from my view that we need to update the new some kind of the in terms of the drought. As you know that it's early this year in this area very challenging and impacted by the drought condition. It's not so impact like in 2016, because we know that in 2016 very drought and very impact to this region. But in earlier this year 2020, we also facing with a drought due to the lack of in little with the water flow from upstream. And in fact, in my office, we also have a 5 solution in emergency. This year, in April, we also find the 7 point. We call that the borehole to get the groundwater to supply to the domestic in the 7 province in this area, like Bến Tre, Cà Mau, Bạc Liêu, An Giang, for example. We also have a college for Mark. They build a dye and the canal to supply the water, not by the transportation in this area. So for my viewpoint, that the floods is not so appear recently in this area. The facing the most problem is drought because so that's why we have the agreement and some the parallel ship by using the 120 parallel ships living together with floods, but we had no flood now. So that's why we had to think about how to dealing with the drought. Drought management is facing is the most important now. So that's why in my office now we're working with the planning, especially in the allocation. We're working with another agency in southern part of Vietnam and also the northern part of Vietnam to working with how to choose the way to working with the supply enough water, especially due to the dry season in this area. We also develop the modeling tool to using this area. Dr. Phương also attending this meeting. I'm sure that he know very well this area and also have a very strong modeling model tool. So tomorrow we have another meeting with the MPI. We are talking about how to setting up the model for this area. When the consultation they're working with this planning the region in this delta. So I will raise the need for the flood and drought management in this area by using the tool to see how to dealing with the scenario development. I mean, so thank you very much for my opportunity to share with you and to understand what you are doing. And I'm very interesting by the smart city Dr. Choi present today. So if it's better, we will think about it. And from my side, I will think about how to supply enough water to the smart city. And I would raise the need for my concern, also my concern to share between both of you today, that in this area, to talking about the planning, water resource planning, we have many kind of the point of view to planning reason. In some paper or in some previous study, they also think about the Mekong Delta is one reason, the single one reason. But for the in the detail, we have the delineation, the planning reason, I mean. So we think about that, how to planning reason, delineation, for better finding the solution for each planning reason. So if you had time to share with you how to dealing with the planning reason. So thank you very much. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Ha. So excellent information. So your updating about the drought situation in the Mekong Delta will be discussed with Dr. Choi and Dr. Ko later. So I want to invite the Mr. Pong, because I was in the Mekong River Commission Secretariat in Bangkok in 30 years ago. So I'm very happy to see the Vietnam National Mekong Committee. So Mr. Pong, so for your comment, please now.
Mr. Chair, and good afternoon from Hanoi. It's just very nice to be invited again to this very interesting forum. So I do hope that I can join this forum for the next time. Regarding to the two presentations by Dr. Ko and Dr. Choice, a lot of information. So in aspect of technical, Dr. Ha is help us comment. In aspect of the management, I would like to say something about the water resource planning in Sesan and Sirobok, and also in the Mekong Delta. First, I would like to say that it's the Sesan and Sirobok water resource development is the first, the water resource plan in Vietnam after the water law issue. This project, give us a lot of lessons learned. It's about the methodology and about the way to implement a water resource planning. We also catch a lot of experience and knowledge from the excellent experts from the Korea, and I do hope that the Vietnamese experts can apply this knowledge and these methods to another river basin. As Dr. Ha mentioned, we are now implement another river basin in Vietnam. So one of the wonderful product of the Sesan and Sirobok water resource based planning is we have a big database and very useful as a model for water resource management. So as soon as we have that the tool, we now apply it to recalculate it. For example, it's minimum flow in the Sesan and Sirobok in the for dialogue with the Cambodia side on the sharing the water resource with when we discuss and we dialogue about the transboundary issue. So that is the immediately apply the result of the project. And as soon as the the 2S project is finished, our minister also signed a decision to set up, it's the first water resource organization in Vietnam. It's Kieu Long and Sesan and Serabok. So Vietnam Mekong River Committee is have to take the manage this three that's ideal. So it's very new. So just the deliverable from the 2S project will have a very the excellent tool for the Sesan and Serabok. So what I mean that is that the productivity of this project come the on time and the very, very useful. And regarding to the flood situation in the Mekong Delta, I think that is affected by both development in the upstream country and also from the inside the delta. When you look at the main delta, plan, now you can see that a lot of the highway system now are constructed and now are building in the delta. So you imagine that in the flat area like the Mekong Delta, when you have a new embankment, so it may affect to the a floodway in the Mekong Delta. Yeah, so it's a challenge for the Dr. Ha when he implement the water resource planning for the Mekong Delta. So I mean that it's the tool, the model for this area. I mean they're very, very implicated. So maybe we will have the more lessons from our my experts from Korea about to solve this problem. Yeah, so it's a very, 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 very short comment and on the two very, very, very interesting presentation by Dr. Koo and Dr. Choi. And thank you again for inviting me to this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Phong, for your update and your encouraging the knowledge exchange between the Vietnamese export and Korean, especially using activity, was really very recommended. So now we can invite Dr. John, who is joining this meeting. Dr. John?
Oh, sorry. Thanks for inviting me, and I would like to share some of my perspective regarding the water management in the Mekong deltas. In just recently, I think that with Dr. Choi and Dr. Ko already present some challenges for the water management regarding the flood. But also, I think that our academy is also related with work related to the salinity and the drought mitigation process. And it seems that there's a lot of challenges regarding the adaptation of the Mekong region for the water management, because it's like a lot of controlling measures regarding the water. And because that like as Dr. Phương mentioned earlier, that the embankment and also is meant for the flood issues. But like there's not a good measure regarding the water retention or water storage and adaptation regarding that. So I would like to share recently developed by us regarding the measurement and the prediction of the salinity intrusion as well as the water shortages in the Mekong Delta in the dry season, because as you know, in the just recent drought in 2019 and 2020, the impact is so high, and the government also recognized that there's a shortages regarding the adaptation of the water practices in the Mekong Delta, because that I know that there's a lot of issue regarding the drought intrusion, the salinity intrusions, and because that there's not much process, or the Mekong Delta, as mentioned earlier, is it's very flat, and then the storage of water in that area is kind of very much dependent on the inflow coming from the upstream areas. So there's a lot of call from the provinces and also from the citizens regarding that water diversion and water storage for the Mekong deltas, and there's a kind of some adaptation procedures regarding the water storage in the canal system, as well as for example, you can build and then control a lot of the water storage inside the canal systems. And also using the proposing water diversion from upstream to the downstream areas, where a lot of plantation areas is also and also the crop downstream regarding need for that. So that is a two urgent thing that can be able to support with the Mekong Delta regarding the adaptation process, not just only on the planning but also on the flood, but also on the drought and the salinity intrusion. I mentioned earlier, I see that there's a lot of tool regarding the decision support process and also the modeling process. I think that is a good tool for the planning process, but there's also a lot of support with the really need for the support of the adaptation measures, seeing how we can be able to deal both with in the flood years and also in the drought years. That is two perspectives that I would like to share, and there's going to be a lot of needs regarding those kind of issues for the Mekong deltas in the coming years. And thank you. So that is for my perspective at the very beginning, and I would like to answer any other question if you have further. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. So, and we can continue to get more comment from Dr. Hong and Dr. Park and Dr. Kim, so from the Korean side. So let's invite the Dr. Hong for your comment on the presentations.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Hong. I'm working for Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology. I'm working for the developing corporation water project for the past 10 years. So now I also, very happy to understand the kind of a situation of the discussion and the negotiation between Laos and between Vietnam and Cambodia about the minimum flow from the kind of two S rivers. So it is my first time to understand the kind of the water allocation discussion in Mekong River. So I hope this kind of discussion continually spread for the whole Mekong River mainstream from China to Vietnam. So up to now, it was very difficult to understand, the upstream countries, water information as like in China. So not easy to get that kind of information about the dam discharge and the water levels. But now we know that China showed more soft the landing policy with the downstream countries as they operating that Lanchang River Forum organized by very high level the political decision makers. Anyway, so the presentation from two speakers, Dr. Guan and Dr. Choi. So it was kind of some, very huge project. The result explanations. So it's so great. So I really appreciate the two speakers about their, presentation. So I'm very happy to learn, from today's speaker for the Mekong Delta water issue, and also the, two-S river transboundary system with the Vietnam and the Cambodia. As far as I understand, that the 1995 Mekong Agreement has adapted, Mekong Basin, vision on economically prosperous and socially justice, and also environmentally sound Mekong River Basin. So it's a kind of some your vision to how to managing that Mekong River itself. So without understanding that kind of a Mekong spirit, it's not Mekong spirit, and the Mekong Basin vision it is easy to implement. It's not easy to implement and touch the IWRM and the IWM and transboundary water agenda in Mekong. So anyway, so the when Dr. Ko just mentioned about some water shortage, the coming water shortage in Tues River Basin, but as far as I understand, the amount of water for agriculture is about 90% of whole your water withdrawal, and 5% gonna be used for the industry, and the 3% gonna be used for the cooling water for the thermal plant. So what's the type of the water shortage in Tues River Basin? So also it is kind of some agricultural water deficit. Do you have some countermeasure for the kind of water deficit or not? So also you have the plan for the industry change for the future direction? That's one of my questions for that. And also there are so many suggestions, very nice suggestions about smart city and many structural measures, and also including non-structural measures. So I'm a little bit wondering about from this kind of concept note and the report, you just suggest a kind of some very nice the blueprint for the future, or now you are just designed a kind of some actual project or the actual pre-feasibility for near future, including how to secure the kind of budget for implementing the kind of very huge project. Well, also for the I was very familiar with the Mekong Delta, the water security. Actually, I used to be a water principal in Global Green Growth Institute from 2011 to 2014, and during that time, I'm managing one project, developed a green growth framework in Mekong River, particularly Mekong Delta area. So work together with the Vietnam National Mekong Committee. At that time, we did a lot of survey about Ho Chi Minh City, including the other suburban area. So Choi also explained about the water security in the Mekong Delta area. But I'd like to add one more things about that, the particularly urbanization. So the Ho Chi Minh City and the suburban area has also some very various threaten the urbanization and sea level rise, land subsidence, and upstream slow, also the rainfall increase due to the climate change. So that's why consistently the Ho Chi Minh City ranked among the top 10 cities worldwide from the climate change. So I understand that you have a lot of the component of the major issues in the Mekong Delta. So now I think the Monnet and the VNM has some plan to develop some countermeasure for that kind of how to solve that kind of issues. So I want to know that some the focusing area about the flood and the drought, particularly there's some how can I say that some vulnerable, how do you care the vulnerable layers, it's like gender and the elderly and a poor person for that area. That's one of the key focusing point from now. Well, I think that we don't have enough time, so that's I will start my comment and question. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hong. So we have still the 20 minutes. So let's invite the Dr. Kim Jong-gon, who is the R&D director for COSET. Yeah, Dr. Kim.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again, especially my old friend from Vietnam, Mr. Feng, Dr. Ha, Dr. Jin. Good to see you again. I hope you and your family are okay with this COVID-19. Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, as you know, I was part of this project, 2 projects, so I do understand all the contents Dr. Choi and Dr. Ko presented. So I just want to mention a few future directions, especially during the implementation of these 2 projects. I enjoyed a lot of good experiences with Vietnamese government colleagues and national consultant. But still, while doing these projects, I realized there are a lot of difficulties, especially dealing with data and common platforms. So, as you know, right? But especially the 2S project, it was really great because other consultants from Haskoning and VNMC had developed DSS2S, including a lot of data already implemented in the DSS system. So it was very enjoyable to apply the DSS2S in actually developing water resource planning for the 2S River Basin. But for Mekong Delta, although we do have MRC DSF, which is a big model DSS, since we don't have specific DSS for the Mekong Delta, it was very difficult to gather data and information, not only from central governments like MARD or Monnet, but also from provincial government. We have, Tien Giang and many other provinces involved in this project. And also another thing is, there are many things that are going on, especially in the Mekong Delta, because many organizations, national, international organizations have been working on this project to relieve, disasters like drought, flood, and salinity intrusion. And there's a new construction going on every time. So even if you have a model or DSS developed a long time ago, sometimes, it cannot be applied because we cannot update the current physical situation in the Mekong Delta. So along with that, Dr. Ko made a very good point at the end of his presentation. He suggested Mekong DSS, which will be really great, because by developing Mekong DSS, we can have a common platform for not only for data models, which can be up to date. So the DSS can compile most of the data from central government and local government. At the same time, we can develop common models like hydrology models, water quality models, and also these models should be easy to be modified, because I know the Mekong Delta is like a live land, because there are so many things going on, like construction and new developments. So whenever we develop a DSS, we have to keep that in mind. In the near future, we have to modify or change some physical situation in that area. Okay, that's my comment for those two projects. And also another thing, it was great to hear that a lot of activities are going on in the Mekong Delta from Dr. Ha and Mr. Feng and Professor Jin. Congratulations. And but however, don't try to finish everything by yourself. Okay, we have to work together. So please, let's work together to solve some problems in the Mekong Delta. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you, especially Dr. Go and Dr. Che and Dr. Hong and Dr. Kim. It's my great pleasure to join this forum. I'm the director of Korea, the Mekong Water Management Research Center in K-Water. First of all, let me introduce our center. The Korea, the Mekong Water Resource Water Management Research Center has been established in K-Water Institute based on the Mekong Declaration of First Korean Mekong Summit Conference, which took place in the Busan, Korea, the last November, for promoting the sustainable and the integrated water resources management and implementing the cooperative project for jointly solving the current water issues in the Mekong region. Furthermore, we have already signed the MOUs with the Mekong River Commission and have been cooperating with the Mekong River Commission and Mekong Institute to promote the research project and develop and operate the capacity building program for water management practitioners or experts in the Mekong region. In particular, the current water data utilization and capacity building in the Mekong region project aims to produce hydrological data by utilizing the satellite-based technology to overcome the hardship and the limitations of water resource analysis and water management operations caused by the absence of observed data, and to apply the hydraulic and the hydrologic analysis technologies in Mekong River Basin countries. By applying the research outcome and technologies, Mekong River countries will be able to respond to water-related disaster in the more rapid and precise manners. Recently, the fluctuations in the regional precipitation has been increasing, and the intensity and the pattern of rainfall have been changing over the regions and seasons. So the risk of disaster such as extreme flood and the drought has been gradually increased in the Mekong region due to climate change. The water resources are the most vulnerable area under climate change. The countries in the Mekong region are continuously concerned with the decreasing amount of available water resources, which has driven the extreme drought. While on the other hand, the increasing frequency and the intensity of extreme rainfall events has resulted in the severe flooding. Furthermore, there is increasing risk of that the environmental issues such as water pollution can occur under climate change. Particularly the recent drought caused by the climate change and dam construction in the upstream of the Mekong River has emerged as a serious social problem.
Dr. Bao,
yeah.
Would you directly focus on the comment of the two presentations? So we have to wrap up as soon as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I just wanted to say is about especially the water. Among the many problems of IWRM, I just wanted to focus on the drought problems. Drought, I'd like to suggest the drought information. So we just necessary to proactively develop the ICT-based smart monitoring and the forecasting the technologies using meteorological and hydrological information in the Mekong region and to minimize the drought damage through the drought information system. By preparing this reliable prediction system and information on drought, countries in the Mekong region can support the establishment of practical policies to respond to the drought. Furthermore, they can respond to climate change by applying comprehensive the water, food, energy nexus approach. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I used too much time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park. I'm sorry, the system has some problem, but in the future, so we can further improve. So now I want to invite Dr. Go for your response to the comment from the panelists. Then we'll ask Dr. Choi for his response. Yeah, Dr. Go, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me? Okay,
yes.
Let me spend just 1 or 2 minutes. So first thing, thanks, Dr. Ha, for your comment and your concern regarding we need some effort to use common data or toolkits when we talk about the transboundary water management collaboration between Vietnam and Cambodia. So maybe as we discussed, if we propose and if we proceed together to develop Mekong Delta DSS by together, maybe that could be another wonderful option. We can resolve that potential conflicts. And the other one is, Mr. Puong, I like your proactive approach to use our developed toolkits to recalculate minimum flow in the 2S basins. Maybe we need more in-depth joint research to define, to study the most promising, most appropriate environmental flow in that river basin in the near future together. And regarding Dr. Puong's question, actually, the most the water demand in the 2S basin is agricultural water, more than 70 or 80%. Maybe for the coming years, for the coming decades, it will not change a lot. But we have to think about the rapid population increase and also some portion of urbanization that increase water management challenges. But our focus in this water planning is to discourage too much groundwater use and instead trying to let them use more surface water we can develop, if you can develop. And that option should be combined with non-structural measures to make it integrated water risk planning that is suitable and really effective for the residents in the basin. That's all my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Go. So now, we will invite Dr. Choi for his response to the panelists to the inquiry and comments. Dr. Yes, yeah. Please.
Thank you very much for your nice comment and advice for the Mekong Delta water issue. I think that it is very difficult to resolve a lot of the water issue in the Mekong Delta, but the Vietnam government already issued a new resolution for the Mekong Delta. So each ministry will prepare the implement and action plan for the Mekong Delta from 2019. So I think that we are now collecting the new information, each ministry's activities for the Mekong Delta, and also I correct and leave the old from Vietnam and Korean panelists when I during my implementation of the Smart City Network program. We are going to get a kickoff meeting with the Vietnam government, MOC. Maybe this is on the beginning of end of the October and beginning of the November. At the time, I'd like advise you good advice for the KCP, K-Smart City program. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you to presenters, Dr. Go and Dr. Choi. And also that we really appreciate comment from the 3 Vietnamese panelists and also 3 Korean experts for the real development of the water resources planning and the implementation in the Mekong River Basin. Really, I appreciate as a my experience in the Asian Development Bank as a water resource specialist and also Mekong River Commission Secretariat when I was the head of the agriculture unit. But now Dr. Go and Dr. Choi's the presentation was really updating what happened in the situation in the Mekong Delta and the Mekong River Basin. And also the Dr. Ha and the Dr. Pung's the comment on this year's drought situation is getting severe. So Korea and the Vietnam can work together, including the Cambodia, to resolve the challenges and the issues in the water resource management in the Mekong River Basin. Thank you very much, everybody, and also supporting the host for this Zoom conference. I really appreciate. So, Sikamon, thank you very much. Yeah.